will friends unite to explore the groundbreaking 90s sci-fi series Babylon 5. Join us as we dive into the show's rich universe, dissecting plot lines and character arcs with a fan's passion. In today's episode, And Now for a Word, we discuss the Season 2 special that broke format to offer an outsider's view of the station. Whether you're a veteran or newcomer to B5's wonders, grab a drink and geek out with us as we appreciate this unforgettable episode. Let the friendly discussion begin.
I'm Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Captain Melisylum.
I'm the Rebel Nita.
Hey y'all, this is Sunday.
And you are listening to Voices in Hyperspace. So this episode is, honestly, when I was watching it, I was like, one of these would have been great during season 1. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a recap episode, which I think season 1 had one, but this one does it in a way that integrates it into the actual episode story. So you hear all these things that happened in season 1. They even brought back that station worker, the dock worker and everything. And he explained the whole episode and they were trying to hit us with budget cuts, but we got to go along to get along, right? That's the entire episode. Anyway, so we get to see ISN present the episode. We have our favorite anchor woman, Cynthia Torkman. I don't know what that name means. But
I really enjoyed how they even included the Psy-Core in that propaganda commercial. That was such a sketchy commercial.
Yeah, it really felt like it was cutting to commercial, especially since when I watch it by myself, I'm watching it on Tubi and there's actual commercials. But that one felt like a real commercial break, unlike the Tubi commercial breaks that just cut you off and in mid-sentence.
Really?
There's no finesse to it. They don't even put the commercial breaks where you think like where they originally were, because it's all shows like that are already designed for commercial breaks.
Yeah.
So yeah, they didn't use that. They just stuck them in there.
Yeah. So the host, Cynthia Torkman, she's doing her best anchor voice too. That was a thing in the 90s. I know when people are doing public speaking on TV, especially the news, they are affecting a speech pattern. Apparently, that's how people absorb information better. But it was so animated in the 90s. The segment is called Babylon 36 Hours.
Oh, I was just asking, how was mine? Did I?
Oh yeah, yours.
Did I get it right?
Oh yeah, I think you caught that. You captured that completely. I know they made fun of it on a lot of cartoons too. I guess show hosts and anchor people, they have a certain cadence of speaking. So ISN is in Geneva, Switzerland. And I thought that was interesting because that's kind of like Babylon 5 is basically kind of Switzerland. And they are doing some parallels as far as like the purpose of it. And then it being ISN and its media, they are skewing all of the stories that the audience knows in such a way to make it seem not very effective. And then the thing that they're showing on TV, granted, like they're at the end they're reserving judgment, but they're showing it in such a way that people are not supposed to come away feeling good about it. She discusses the station's recent history and the challenges faced during its launch, and that's like all the sabotage, all the attacks, the 6 murders or however many murders. I think we've seen all those people die on TV. Whether it was by like a lurker or an alien or a demon alien. Does they have those? The news team, they approach the show from a way where they're like, we're going to show you this day, but we're going to show you what the Narn and Centauri conflict looks like, because while they are there, there's a conflict between transports. The Narn open fire on the Centauri transport ship, destroying it, and pretty much all hell breaks loose for the episode. And that's the intro. the cool thing about that, they had a thing to follow along with, because without that Narn Centauri story, it's just a recap show, and they could have just put in clips from other episodes. So I'm like, bravo on this storytelling mechanism.
Yeah, or just doing the whole elongating the interview process.
Yeah,
where she harassed everybody.
Yeah, nobody liked her.
Like, they're having a conflict. There are people coming in injured, and you're trying to question the head doctor. Like,
yeah,
it's a medical emergency. You wouldn't go into an ER and be like trying to question the doctor when there's like 20 patients coming in with needing emergency care.
Especially Dr. Franklin. He looked like he was ready to kill her. He was so irritated. They are sending emergency teams to save the wounded members in Bay 1. And they have all these people running around doing work. I liked how Stephen Franklin is like, they always showing him and he's doing like this medical jargon, yelling at people, giving orders and stuff like that. And it's so cool because he looks so earnest, but we all know that he's just like, that actor is just like doing his best channeling the seriousness.
When she came up to him asking questions while he's doing his job, in my head, I just wanted him to turn around and tell her to go away.
Yeah.
Like, instead of like, I'm working here or just continuing to work, I wanted him to be like, go away.
Yeah. The news crew is running around the station and trying to interview people. They're talking to Londo and Jakar, and they're like showing their perspectives. Londo is like, oh man, this is a completely unprovoked attack, and we're just trying to stand our ground and do our thing. And Jakar's like, he's lying. Like, we're gonna wait for our government to come back with an official word, but this would not have happened unprovoked. And then the reporter is asking, wouldn't a firing war put the station in danger? And Jakar does his best foreshadowing and brooding voice, and he's like, we're already in incredible danger. Remember, Jakar is the one who's keeping the secret knowledge that the shadows are active in the galaxy, and he's trying to warn people, and nobody's listening to him. And again, she's not listening to him, and he just marches off. And we see the other types of slice of life interviews. This is where we get this is where we see the dock worker, which, okay, apparently in 200 years, blue collar work is solely occupied by people with New York accents. And that's it. They all look like Ron Jeremy. I'm gonna move on past that, but that mustache was gross. They're interviewing, getting different perspectives. What was the guy from CNC, the blonde kid? Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up.
From CNC?
Yeah, the one that Ivanova is standing behind.
Oh, that scene! I knew the first time I watched it, I only paid attention to Ivanova.
Oh yeah.
Like, I didn't even think to look at him at all. Like,
yeah. But yeah, I can't remember his name, but he's over there. He looks terrified. Like, every time I see that episode, I just die laughing because he's not looking behind himself, but he knows Ivanova's looking bullets through the back of his brain.
He keeps looking down like he's reading a card.
Yeah. It's in his brain of what Ivanova needs me to say at this time.
Yeah. And
Ivanova was part of the side core.
No comment. We just have to continue her story. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious. He's like, no one has ever gotten upset or angry here. We all know that. In season 1, Ivanova yelled at like that scientific mission, like, Ivanova is God. Listen to Ivanova. She threatened some delegates that she's going to put their seats in the airlock and shoot them off into space. So yeah, he's never seen anyone get upset.
He probably was looking down on the floor.
The doctor's retelling of losing a friend to the airlock, really, it was great to say, like, well, people make jokes about putting people in the airlock and it's not funny. And that has actually happened in the episode also, and highlighting the serious dangers to just being in space, like without there being a warring conflict going on. Like every day it's a miracle that any of them are still alive.
Right.
Yeah.
The way he told it is supposed to make you like reflect. And because a kid just was screwing around, killed himself. And while he gives us some things to imagine, go watch episodes of The Expanse where people get spaced. That's what he's talking about.
It made me think about kids putting themselves in the dryer.
Oh no. I just reacted right.
Yeah. So when they are interviewing Sheridan, he's talking about the Agamemnon, which is his ship that he was transferred from. Remember, it's episode 1 of season 2. He said it was the last of that type of ship out of the production line after the war. And I like how he described it. So this actually spends a short amount of time explaining Sheridan himself. He said it was part military patrol, part diplomacy. So he had that experience. That kind of puts a little bit of weight behind his resume. So he's not just some random dude that's taking over for Sinclair. He has war experience. Yes, the Earth people like that he killed Mollari, Starkiller. But he spent a good amount of his time as the captain trying to fix, men relationships and fix things. So he knows how to do that. He just does it differently than Sinclair did. This is where the reporter is throwing some shade, and she's like, what do you think about the different changes in command? Is this job just too big for anybody to do? And that's her mentioning Sinclair was told to leave. He got reassigned on Minbar, but from our perspective, from the perspective of characters on the show, they got rid of him. The job was too big and they got rid of him. His security officer got shot and was in a coma. The war between the Minbari and the Centauri started. It's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And they're like, you know what? Too big. And she's asking hey, do you think that maybe we shouldn't be doing this job? What was his response?
In the military, things are always changing.
She did also mention, do you think it's crazy to take on this big task? And he said, yeah, you gotta be a little crazy to do this job.
So she's really trying to present this sanitized version, and that's as an outsider looking in, you're supposed to take away nobody can do this thing. Humans need to get out of here, right? That's how I feel throughout the whole episode. They're trying to make a case to pull humans away from being so involved with Babylon 5.
No matter how good Babylon 5 was doing, that's what the media is going to do. Is going to chop and screw and make everything look as awful as possible for the views. And it just so happened that they showed up when the two alien factions was really showing their ass. But no matter what, they was going to make Babylon 5 look like shit.
Especially since the new president isn't in agreement with Babylon 5 being ran. They keep trying to shut it down, either financially. Now they're trying to do it socially.
They've tried to send so many people to take Sinclair away. It took when he was weak for them to get Sheridan in there. So then we switch to Jakar is issuing an official statement explaining the Narn's justification. First of all, I like the way this is set up because the framing of everything is like a newscast. So you're not looking at it like a TV show. You're looking at it like a newscast. It doesn't feel like they're performing to us. It feels like they're performing. It doesn't really feel like they're performing really. Yeah.
To each other. That's how I felt like instead of knowing where the camera is and having to perform based on where the camera was, they were performing based on where each other were, as though the camera isn't supposed to be there. They're just fighting. Yelling at each other.
Yeah. What Jakar was saying was that the Centauri transport that was destroyed because it was carrying weapons of mass destruction to the front lines. So they finally gave their reason. ISN was there to hear the reason, record exactly his words. And it was very interesting because you get this feeling of these people are going to try to justify everything that they do, and so it's real easy to make to blame weapons of mass destruction, transporting rebels, and stuff like that.
My space time is all kinds of jacked, and I don't be paying attention to politics and the whatnot. But I know that we had a president once upon a time that blamed, some really ridiculous warlike maneuvers on the behalf of the United States on that same phrase.
Yep.
Was that before or after this episode aired?
That's almost 10 years afterwards.
Yeah.
So he just reached back into sci-fi. I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah,
I think it happens all the time. Like that one we remember the most because, I remember being in high school and because it was such big news, we would have to watch it in class, especially our history classes and our English classes for some reason.
Because they didn't want y'all to do work; they wanted y'all to watch TV. I feel like did y'all watch Channel 1 and all that stuff too?
We probably had different channels. We're all in different states.
Oh, it's like a weird school network thing, and the news would be like literally 5 minutes, but everybody had to watch it. But okay.
Oh no, we didn't have that.
Oh, no problem. But we had to watch. You were still in high school during the Iraqi war.
Yeah, well, I was. 9/11 happened the beginning of my senior year.
Okay.
So I was in high school, college.
Gotcha. We were watching the Gulf War when I was in middle school. So it was, yeah. Anyway, all right. So we come back from commercial, and Senator Quantrill, this name, Senator Quantrill is being interviewed by Babylon 5, and I wrote this dude. This is the first time and last time we see this dude, and he don't know nothing about Babylon 5 because he doesn't work with Babylon 5. He's saying that Babylon 5 should be more focused on human issues, and they're bogged down by non-human issues. And again, that sounds like some Psychor stuff. He's one of the Earth representatives that are well acted.
Yeah, because the other ones just they look like they're scared.
Yeah,
they're at gunpoint having these conversations. He looked like he was sitting in his office in Texas.
Right. And I like that they are given some contrast here, because Quantrill is talking about we should spend our time focus on human issues. He's talking about he's discussing as if the Earth Minbari War was one-sided. He does give a hesitant praise to Babylon 5, but it's necessary. It's Babylon 5 represents a necessity after the Earth Minbari War. It's after we won the war, we kind of needed this, but now that we look at it, I don't think we need this anymore. We just need to continue to build our arms. We're vastly superior, and we need to do our own thing. What does he say? He says if the war were to occur today, that it would have a very different outcome.
Yeah. I mean, if I
humans would die.
Yeah, I didn't advance that much in 12 years. Right. No. Y'all about to get wiped out. No way you're going to stand your grounds for 5 more seconds.
Especially now with the Warcast guy in the council. Hell yeah, the humans would die if the war started today.
Oh, yeah. And then, I kind of feel that the way he's presenting things, plus what we know of how they've been attacking Babylon 5 all this time, most of it is financial. And I'm wondering if they're just mad at the money. Most of the time, it's just the money. They're oh, well, our budget. Or they're going to start charging us for rent. Or it's all we're spending too much money on this. And it's the delegates that are no, it's not an issue. We should keep the money here. I think they just want to be richer.
I was having a conversation with some comrades, we were organizing some things, and we're having some discussions about like when dealing with organizations are dealing with officials, city and state actions. Like the way you get a thing defeated is by putting it in the hands of the budget committee, because they will either A, fund it just enough to say that they funded it but not let it be actually effective, or B, they will defund it and won't let anybody do a thing. And they still have the name. They're like, oh hey, we have a program that will help the homeless, but there's like no money going towards it. And the city has it, and homelessness should be solved, but that the population of our houseless friends continues to grow.
I wanted to say about the conversation with Quantrell, whether or not Babylon 5 is doing its job. It's really hard to answer that question with any fucking thing, because the longer you look at the effects of a thing that you participated in, you may find that like the immediate benefit is not there, but it takes years and years for a benefit to be experienced, and then years and years after that you realize that this idea actually created a new problem.
Yeah,
like the whole cereal issue, where the people are extremely poor and there's wars going on and nobody can get food, so we make cornflakes and we put vitamins and things in there, and oh look, it's working, the people are not dying. But then now we have a lot of malnourished humans in the long run still.
Yeah.
And so like to say Babylon 5 isn't working or is working, it just depends on how long you're paying attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess also when you're paying attention to it as well.
That too, yeah. They said like who was that activist? It was some historic Black person. I don't know if it was like Rosa Parks. Maybe it was Rosa Parks. It was somebody who was a total slut. And
I think it was the Rosa Parks thing, because they picked her over the other woman.
Yeah,
to be be in the forefront.
Yeah, and it's like he would have died before the bus issue and the boycott and everything. She would have died before then. She would have died a slut,
Yeah.
Like, but because we looked at her timeline for much longer, we, that part's not so important anymore. So just like you said, it matters how long, and it matters what time period you're looking at too.
Yeah. So Sheridan disagrees with the senator, and he's complaining about, what do he call Monday morning quarterbacking? How there's always people that think that like, oh, if we had done things this way, we would have won the war. And I like the way that he's approaching it, but the reporter catches him, and she's like, we didn't lose the war. It was the Minbari who surrendered. And Sheridan is like, we don't have the resources to fight the Minbari. We don't have enough technology to fight them, and we wouldn't know how to approach the Vorlons. We would get fucked up. So and the reporter is all given like this human chauvinistic perspective, and it's like, nah lady, we didn't survive it. We were given a mercy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that game, the Mercy game. You guys ever play that? Where you lock fingers together, and then you're supposed to bend the other person's fingers back until they scream for mercy.
I know what you're talking about, but it was in wrestling they call that the test of strength. Yeah, it is stupid.
In City with Mama and the kids, and they have this giant game that was like, what's the Operation?
Oh
And
yeah.
I remember seeing a TikTok or something that was showing like the difference between the millennials and the gens and whoever the hell grew up with Operation. Is like, that's why y'all so fucked up and got so much anxiety, because the kinds of games that we were playing.
You did that wrong. You did that wrong.
You're not perfect and you get electrocuted.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's the way to go.
That's how you.
Yeah.
That's how people train their dogs with those collars, right?
Well, it's with a little more skill and finesse than that, but yes.
Yeah, there were a couple of games that just like straight up hurt you. And especially like I don't know, before the 90s, a lot of toys and games just had to completely be rebranded or taken off the market because they were just killing children.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything the U.S. made for children between the 1980s and the early 2000s was definitely a danger. That's why they discontinued certain toys and Happy Meals, because like kids can choke on this. Because children did choke on that.
And the Kinder Joys, I think they just got like stickers in half of it now. But the kids used to eat, like, just try to eat the whole egg.
Oh my god.
That was before I was a parent.
Okay. So next we have Commander Ivanova is saying that they're going to have a hazmat team investigate the debris of the Centauri transport. And this is them wanting to find proof of the weapons of mass destruction. And I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, WMDs. Yeah. Colin Powell. And so the reporter, she goes to interview Ivanova, and this stands out so much in my brain because they do it on more than one episode, but this is the first episode that the reporter's like calling her Ivanova, and Ivanova is just like, sure, whatever, that's my name.
She just wants it over. That's how I felt. Like, I'm not going to correct you. Just ask your daggone questions and go.
Yeah. And Ivanova basically shuts down the interview because the reporter is asking her, how do you end up in Earth Force? And she explains that her brother was a member of Earth Force and was killed during the war, and she felt that it was her duty. She didn't like graduate or whatever soon enough to join the war. The war was already over. And we know a little bit more of this story from season 1. She knows Jeffrey Sinclair, the captain. They have some sort of relationship. So they knew each other. And Ivanova, like, she left a whole lot out of her story, right? Because the whole Psychor thing and how much she hates Psychor. And I think she understands how wise it is to keep all that to herself. So when the reporter is like, is there anything else? She goes, yeah. And then she just don't tell her. And I love that. And if I ever get interviewed by reporters or others, I'm going to probably use that. Like, is there more to your story? Yeah, there is. And then when they finally ask me, are you going to tell me? I'm like, no, I'm not. Garibaldi is the one that gets called away for the hazmat reports. He's like, we need you. We got a problem. Like, when you see this chief of security gets called away, we got a problem with the hazmat reports. What does that make you even think of?
That there's vomit and blood spilled somewhere.
Oh my god. I mean,
yeah, whenever
they found something.
Hazmat, I immediately think bodily fluids.
If they found something on the ships that were blown up. Because if they were weapons of mass destruction, then if they found parts of it still intact, then they could be hazardous.
That's true. Nita's got me thinking now. Oh god, because like you blew up a transport in space, so oh god, now you got me thinking of space horrors, because that just means the ships, for a brief moment, the ships gravity drive is off and shielding, and the engines are heating up. So not only is it vomit and stuff everywhere, but there's like boiled parts of humanoid aliens all over the place. along with whatever materials they use to power the engines. Gross. In Star Trek, it would be like dilithium crystals, which those are radioactive, right?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of power going through that.
Yeah.
A lot of energy that can have an effect on human mass. Because then it kind of boils Spock.
Yeah, it destroyed him from the inside, like his immune system, yes, but like it destroyed him from the inside, like that dude.
A boil?
Yeah, because of the radiation.
Mm-hmm.
When?
What was the movie?
God.
It was one of those. It was one of the bad Star Trek movies.
The first time he
Genesis.
died.
No, not Genesis.
The one Genesis is the one after that because he comes back to life. The one where him and Kirk got the hand on the glasses together. And,
yeah. The needs of the many outweighs the needs of the few. Damn you, Spock, or whatever he says. I don't know.
Whatever he said.
Damn you, you green blooded.
Listen though, radiation will pass through your body and kill all the cells on the inside and won't care. So
we just had that in the episode. The dude that was in the ship, he was exposed to radiation.
Yep. That's the hazardous material that they're worried about, right? And they have to search. So I'm wondering, like, do they have like a specific signature for like the types of hazardous materials that you will find with weapons of mass destruction? Like, can you tell the difference between a weapon that's radioactive and like an engine core that's radioactive? I'm pretty sure that they do.
Right. Well, because the engine core that's radioactive has to be stabilized, whereas a weapon you design to not be stable. So maybe that's the whatever does the stabilizing or non-stabilizing or keep things stable enough to go off when it needs to is the difference that they're looking for. Or they could just be looking through the actual tech that it was attached to see what it does. I think that might be.
Yeah. So
who knows? Because then they're alien technology. So, I mean, but energy works no matter.
Yeah.
Energy is a consistent in the universe no matter what your species.
And I'm sorry.
Many glitter you put on it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. Like, I still don't get, like, if the Babylon 5 hazmat team, if their scientists are looking at these ships, I believe that the Centauri have artificial gravity. I believe that the Narn have artificial gravity. Why do the humans just not steal their technology like they've done everything else and have artificial technology, artificial gravity?
They're not sharing.
There has to be some sort of treaty there.
Oh yeah, because the Centauri want money no matter what. So you just show them enough coin, enough booty.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, booty. Booty is sexist currency. That's why they call it booty.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad I just watched One Piece because now I wouldn't have gotten that.
I want booty.
Okay, all right. So the reporter has a very interesting interview with Ambassador DeLynn. We learn like a lot about Minbar, like in this statement. One, it's the 7th planet in their system. They have 3 different languages, which I'm guessing there's a language for each of the different sects or classes of people, which I am so fascinated how they divided their culture because they don't like the warrior class. I'm sorry, they don't like the warrior class and they treat the worker class like garbage. So we find out that there's so much crystal on Minbar that many of the cities are carved out of crystal. Y'all remember some of those scenes of Minbar and those crystal palaces and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they somehow still find a way to meet in the dark. that on a ship though?
It was on a ship, but that ship, the inside of that ship was perfectly black. Like, we stand between the candle and the star.
Thank you. They didn't say what type of crystals. They were using amethyst. Not amethyst. Not amethyst. Obsidian. Sorry.
There you go.
Yes. I play enough Minecraft to know what that is.
So then the reporter asks, like, well, what about your appearance? Don't you think some of the victims of the Minbari would feel bad about you looking like them? And I was like, that's a wild question to ask.
And she's had a lot of time to think about that, and she still don't have an answer. It's annoying.
Yeah.
She has an answer, but she can't really tell him. But at the same time, I think you're right. She doesn't have like a good answer.
Just I don't want to talk about it.
Can we stop this? And they hung on her for a long time. Like, no, we're not.
Nah, zoom in. They should have zoomed in.
She wanted to
look at her despair.
She wanted to cry, and I'm laughing because this is the one time Delenn cannot just cry and walk off and leave. She's stuck there. She's in her chair. She can't just like disappear into a corridor. They're gonna follow her. Like, what does she do?
Where are you going? Why are you running? Well, wait. So when she says, when Delenn's like, and Adranato, which is the language of the religious caste, and Homegirl is like, oh, can you tell us something in your Adranato? Like, wow, that American accent, like
yo,
it's not a girl, it's a burrow.
You gotta like use your Valley Girl accent to ask that question.
Oh my god, like, why do they talk like that? It's so cringe. Yeah.
I spent a semester on Minbar and I learned Adranato.
Your accent is impeccable.
something like that.
And so while she was being, like, oh, wad, don't look at me, I'm just like, you are literally appropriating a whole species and you don't have anything to say. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about appropriation here in a minute too, because there was some stuff that I saw. I was like, I don't like their choices for sci-fi future clothing.
Yeah, they don't have any hoochie daddy shorts.
Not like Star Trek, no. Or man skirts with the thighs out, with the thigh meat hanging out. But for some reason, like even the aliens, like, okay, I know that they do this because of how easy it is to do the costuming and stuff. But even the aliens, everybody's wearing cloaks and tunics, and the hats. You notice the hats?
No.
There's a lot of people in the background wearing basically kufis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now that you mention it, yeah. It kind of like they did it better in Firefly, where there was like a combination of different clothes because you had access to everything from everywhere because it's not so separate anymore. But with Babylon 5, it looks like we're just going to design future clothes and just use different fabrics to make clothes that already exist in other cultures. Yeah, it reminds me of Star Wars, especially like episode 1 through 3, where like they basically just cut and paste things from other cultures and stuck them together.
Yeah. In Nita's notes, she's talking about white supremacy, and I'm just like trying not to, but a lot of sci-fi just reflects that this stuff is unfamiliar to white people, but I can see people wearing this stuff if I just look out my house right now. And I don't live in a great part of the city, so
yeah, white supremacy doesn't have a good like imagination. They're shit at naming things. They're shit at like imagining a new future, like with like what would life look like beyond this. And when we think about like even with art and progression and all the things, a lot of that is inspired by non-white cultures.
There's also the absence of media literacy. So you see all these things is alien to white culture because white culture is supposed to be like, oh, there's more stuff out there. But the message that white supremacists get is we're good and they're bad because they're different. And so instead of exploring what's different, they're like, let's look at ourselves and let's see how we can be the best. Like the protagonist being military is this is not promoting the military. The whole season, the series is not promoting the military. It's talking about how the military can be manipulated, which is so wild. But I can see how some people are like, no, the military can do the right thing if the right people are in the right place. And it's like, no, the story is telling you because you can change the people in power that it can be bad. Like that needs to be fixed. So we switched to see the advisory council is called to session, and they're going to reveal the findings from the Centauri transport. And it turns out that not only were they carrying weapons, but more of the ships might be carrying weapons. Jakar was right. Let me say that. Jakar was right for the third time. For the third time, Jakar was right. And he's talking about that they need to search all of the other Centauri ships. And Londo is like, nope, no. He's like,
swore up and down they didn't have anything on it anyway. It was unprovoked. They just doing that because they do that.
Yeah. And now he's like, no, we have sovereign right to defend ourselves. Don't that sound familiar? We have sovereign right to defend ourselves, and we will not surrender that sovereignty. And Jakar is like, nah, we need to search all your ships. We need to seize all y'all's weapons. We need to impound everybody and put them in the brig. We need justice. We need it now. No justice, no peace. You know what I'm saying? And Sheridan is yelling at Londo. It's like, look, this is Babylon 5. We got sovereignty here. Y'all ain't got shit. And they're like, okay, if you open fire on our ships, we're going to open fire back. And Jakar is like, this is the same thing that they always do. They're using details to confuse the issues.
Yeah. Confusion is white supremacy, y'all. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And he's just saying like, we need to act now. Let me go for the record. Again, Jakar is right. I agree with Jakar.
If you agree with Londo, you are a white supremacist.
I'm just going to throw out there are some things going on in the world where people are using that same argument that, hey, we deserve to defend ourselves. And it's kind of weird to say because it's like, you're not on the defense. You never were on the defense. You're on the offense. And cops. Yeah, cops too. They train.
There's so many levels where you see that. Like it happens politically with government systems, and then it can happen with authority like that, and then it happens in individual relationships with people where someone just wants to have the upper hand over someone, so they tell them that what their feelings are invalid because I'm supposed to be the victim here.
Yes. Yep.
Playing Davo on every level.
Yes.
Darvo.
Yep. It's wild because we see it play out. We've been seeing this play out on television for decades, and people are still doing it. because apparently we don't learn anything in our politics here.
No,
We learn how to do it the same, but just like a little bit different, so that it doesn't look like what we was doing yesterday. But we definitely doing it.
Yeah.
And like even when I see it in individuals in personal life, or just listening to people read Reddit stories for some reason, because that's my new obsession now apparently.
Oh my god, you're in
Nice.
you're lost in the holes in the darkness now.
But like people who are like, oh, but I'm the victim because someone shouldn't have did this, and it's just like from another perspective it's ridiculous, but then the person who's being manipulated feels like they're the one that's wrong because they were told that, and because they feel bad for making this other person feel bad when they're not really feeling bad, they're just being a brat. But we don't see it because the person who feels bad for doing the thing that they were not wrong for doing we've probably been raised that way. Like, think about how many generations, the older generations will see something wrong in the family and be like, oh, well, we're not going to talk bad about so-and-so because they're so-and-so. Or the preacher is doing something and everybody know it, and we're not going to say that because they the preacher. Or, the uncle or the dad or whoever else doing whatever, and we just gonna push it over the rug. It doesn't matter how much they hurt them because we're family. We're gonna just keep being family, and you shouldn't stop talking to your family because they're your family and they don't care how much they hurt you, or like even if they just straight up don't show you love, you still have the right to like just cut them off. You don't have to kill them or nothing, but just cut them off, and then they act like you.
I know everything is toxic, but
they
we're
act
family.
like you hurt them, right? It's like, oh, you did all this, like you tortured your children, but your children should still be in your life because they're your children. No,
why won't you talk to her? She's your mom. She's your mother.
Now, if we do that on a personal level, how bad is it going to be when we have to stand up to a government or to authority? We can't stand up for our own households.
But that's the thing, though. That's why they are trying to uphold that power structure of the household, because you have to be under somebody. Mm-hmm. They maintain that structure, so when it comes to a government, you have to see the government leaders as brother, as father. Core is mother. Core is father.
That's
but Ivanova is God.
Ivanova is Ivanova.
All right. So the station devolves into a shooting war between the Narn and the Centauri in B5 space. The residents are directed to shelter as the conflict escalates. It's wild. People are just blasting, and the reporter ISN connects to the station's sensors so they can see it. And this is kind of like a throwback to the Gulf War because they wanted you to see what war looked like. It's not what you saw on like those World War I, World War II, and Vietnam War movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. What you see are like surveillance style footage, and it makes it very visceral and real. And so they're showing like what it would look like from the station's perspective. And I thought they did a pretty good job. Yes, the graphics are dated, but for the time, it was a lot more immersive than just like the way Star Wars handled space battles. You know what I mean? Which again, that goes back to the 70s, early 80s. So what's going on is while the shooting war is happening, Sheridan is like, hey, if y'all don't chill out, we're gonna have to open fire on y'all. And so they get from the Narn and the Centauri's like, if you fire on us, we're gonna fire back. And Sheridan's just like, screw it. You guys go. We sending our guys out there and go ahead, weapons free, shoot them down. And they have the orders to disable the vehicles, and if they have to take somebody out, do so. And then he's talking to Ivanova. He's like, look, invite these leaders so we can have this talk, so we can figure this out. And she's like, well, what did she say? Yeah, what if they don't come? He goes, oh, well, we're gonna put them in the brig too. But he was gonna like use some words, probably curse. But she's like, and he's like, oh yeah, the camera's on, ain't it? He's like, ask them nicely again, like gritting his teeth.
I don't think he's supposed to technically put them in the brig, but he'll like tell them you gonna put them in the brig. Like, oh wait, no, I can't do that, can I?
I mean, he can, but nobody would like it. They were like, you put a diplomatic leader in jail, and that's a diplomatic incident. So then the reporter is interviewing Jakar and Londo as they both reveal kind of the historical perspectives. Again, we are learning so much more about these alien species than we did in season 1. The Narn were enslaved by the Centauri about 100 years ago, and their planets were very fertile and green, but they were not like an advanced race. They were colonized and forced to work for the Centauri in an indentured, probably in like different levels of types of slavery, indentured servitude, house servants, and things like that. And
well, they also had to mine all of the resources they took out of the planet. They used those people to mine them, physically mine them.
Yeah. And that's what Jakar explains, is like, why would any advanced society seek to destroy a lesser advanced society? It's like, because we're strategically located. We have resources. And he says, but the most important part is just because they can. Like, the Centauri are doing it because they had the power. And nobody could stop them. And this is where Jakar references the Holocaust, which now we have a picture that we can kind of layer on top of what is happening to the Narn. However, I honestly look at this more of like the Civil War type of thing too, because you have the Narn, they're fighting for their freedom. In the way that the Centauri, especially Londo, are talking about it, is like, we don't want to do this. In fact, we probably wouldn't be doing this if they were reasonable. And Londo's, the way that he explains it, he's like, look, the Centauri, when they met the Narn were a primitive people. We had to teach them up, and we had to hold their hand. He's very paternalistic. He said we had to bring them to the stars with us. And that's like an extremely sanitized version of history. And then he says, like, he basically says, like, we wouldn't be fighting them if they weren't unreasonable and insisted on it. In fact, if they had asked us nicely, we would have left and we wouldn't have pressed the issue. It would have been kind of cool, but no, they wouldn't. That reminds me of the Civil War and the Civil War denialists, where they saying like, oh, we didn't have to fight the Civil War to end slavery. The South would have done it by themselves. I'm like, then why didn't they?
Right. Like the whole reason why we went to war is because they didn't want to get rid of slavery.
Right. Which
you just have to give it more time.
Yeah, it would have naturally happened.
That was the Davo.
Yep. Yep.
We were going to do it. I promise.
There is a human who used to be like, I would say, you didn't do the thing, and he would go, I didn't do it yet. I didn't get the chance to do it because you went on ahead and done it. But if you would have just given me more time, it would have happened. And I'm just like, that can be said about anything. Fucking thing until you die.
Right.
Right.
Which is like, look at the outcome. Your intentions, which I doubt those intentions, by the way. Oh, I was gonna do it, but you didn't do it. We had to do it. We have this outcome. You're pissed off because you didn't do your job.
And you got called out for it.
Yep.
That's the most important part. You got called out, and you weren't supposed to call me out because you're supposed to be okay with whatever I do. And just do it for me because you're the pushover one and I need to sit here and look pretty and peacock.
Oh my god. They did have him framed almost like a painting. Londo. It was very painterly, very picturesque. He was like all of his scenes he was like super sanitized. Which that I guess that's a message from ISN to be like, yeah, we like the Centauri. And you notice how Londo is like, we care for the humans. You guys are so much like us. Yes, we should be in an alliance. Our friends from Earth. Yep.
Because we look so much alike, except for our anatomy so different.
Everything.
Yeah.
Whereas the reptiles over there with their pouchlings.
Yeah, okay. Jakar said pouchling. My brain just went into like overload. Like, what is a pouchling? Are y'all marsupials?
Yeah.
Yes. That's what it's about.
It just sounds so cute.
It's making me wonder about things I don't want to wonder about at all. Yeah. Okay.
My mouth. Gross.
So a Centauri cruiser comes out of hyperspace, and they issue an ultimatum, which is like, let our people go home, or we're gonna blockade Babylon 5. And it's delivered by none other than our friend, the painterly Londo Napoleon Bonaparte Mollari. And at this point, this is where they're trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do? We need to talk these people down. A blockade is actually illegal and it would draw humans into the war. It's a very threatening position for them. What Londo wants is like all the ships that would have been searched to be unsearched, untouched, unopened, back to Centauri space. Jakar is all like, nope, we can't let them go. What we need to do is search every last one of them, seize their weapons, and put everybody in the brig. And so we got a standoff, y'all.
Question.
Yes.
Was it illegal or against the rules for the Centauri to bring weapons through what's that place called? Babylon 5?
Yeah, that's a war crime. That's a war crime. They're smuggling weapons to the front lines using Babylon 5 as a way station. And Londo's explanation is like, oh, we're not bringing them onto the station. We're sending them to other ships, but they're going to Babylon 5 because that's neutral territory. And they're not supposed to bring weapons there.
So was that, okay. So because it's neutral territory, you're not supposed to bring weapons in the vicinity, even if they're not coming on to Babylon 5.
Yes.
They're still here.
Yep.
Got you. I was trying to understand if Londo had an actual like argument supported by the rules of Babylon 5.
He was kind of using a loophole. That's why he was saying like, well, we're not bringing it to the station. Like, we're moving them from our ships to our ships. But all their ships go to Babylon 5 to be safe, to not be raided and not, participate in the war until it's their time. And also remember the Narn are experiencing like massive losses. They are losing the war. And the Centauri are like, yeah, let's use every advantage we got. Let's keep doing this.
They knew they weren't supposed to do that, but they decided that they were going to be sneaky about it. And then when they got caught, it was like, no, don't look.
Right. Or they kind of puff up their chests to be like, no, we're justified in doing this. That's where they keep coming up with all of those excuses. Like, we're defending ourselves. We should be able to do this. And then we have a wonderful word from our sponsor, the Psychor. I wrote in my notes that this feels like the RoboCop commercials. And they basically create a scenario where a little kid is getting beat up at school. I'm sorry. The kid is getting beat up at school, and he's like, the kids, they kept lying and they kept beating me up because I knew that they were liars. It's like, oh, Billy, they just don't like you.
Did anybody else see the glowing dildo
on the side table?
I did not.
Oh
I
my
did
gosh,
not.
you have to.
I'm gonna have to go back and
that.
watch it.
I'm just like, that's a dildo, and it looked just. I'm gonna Google a picture and I'm gonna send it to y'all just so you can see. So when you go back and watch it, you like needle a glowing dildo, and his name was Johnny. Okay,
Johnny.
And he had.
Okay, my bad, Johnny.
10 apples. Go ahead.
If Johnny has 10 apples, I need you to listen. And I take 3. No, all right.
How many times do you get punched in the face?
So they turned Johnny into a little fascist. It is funny because I see your notes, Nita, and you like he learned how to comb his hair, which that's all they put him in a little Hitler uniform and combed his hair.
Yo,
a little Nazi uniform.
Like Hitler's. Yes.
When I saw it this first time, it reminded me of scenarios where like I don't want to say high. Well, yeah, the kids that are on the spectrum or maybe just neurodivergent will be around other kids and see things that the other kids don't want you to see, so they just get mad at that kid. And so now, because the other kids see something weird about that one, that's the one who has to move and be part of something else.
Yeah.
And now they're special. Yeah. That's how I felt about that when I saw it.
Yeah, they man, they had that kid admit that he was getting beaten, and they were like, the answer to your problem is join the Corps, because Corps is mother, Corps is father. No, they were like, did y'all see the subliminal messages? Yeah. What the thing at the end, it flashes, the Psi Corps is your friend, trust the Psi Corps. And this is by the Ministry for Public Information. And I'm just like, propaganda and brainwashing. This is wild. So they have a debate between the Narn and the Centauri about what's going on, and they're both furious. And this is where the Centauri are like, we have sovereignty, we can protect ourselves, we're not going to tolerate this. Senator Quinnell questions Earth's involvement in the alien conflict. As it's happening, they're like, why are we even involved? We don't need to do anything. Let them kill each other. It's cool. That's his pro-Earth side just talking. He's like, let our potential enemies be weaker. We need to be strong.
But then in the case of the Centauri, if they win, they get stronger. It's not like
yeah, but that's also like the humans have not condemned the Centauri.
Right. They still think that they're gonna be friends. Like, I think the Centauri are gonna be friends with you until they're not. Like, they're never truly friends.
Yeah.
With anybody. They only like themselves.
Right.
They're so insecure.
Jakar and Sheridan, they all leave and they're, talk about the situation. When they come back, Sheridan is basically saying like, hey, the Earth government is refusing the demands of the Centauri government. And not only that, like, we need y'all to get out of here. And then that's when they are preparing that ship to be autopilot to call their bluff. And I was a little confused at this part because Sheridan does make a statement about like, not only are we not going to listen to you, we're going to leave. And if you fire on us, that's the declaration of war against us. And then they send that little ship. He's like, oh, we're going to do it remote control just in case. Again, this reminds me of the Gulf War. Back when I was a teenager and they were going to try to recruit me. This is what the recruiter was like. Oh, the Gulf War was a robot war. We just used a bunch of drones. And we've been using a bunch of drones ever since. So that is a highly sophisticated space drone that they sent. And the Centauri was like, oh man, we can't fire on them. They're our friends. We can't do that. That's when the Centauri is like, okay, we'll talk. But then a Narn heavy cruiser comes out of hyperspace, blah, 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 starts firing on the Centauri spacecraft. The Centauri fires back, damages the cruiser. Both ships are damaged. The Centauri ship explodes first. The Narn ship explodes second. We have casualties from large cruisers. Babylon 5 is now the center of a major shooting war. Not just the little fighters, but now like these heavy cruisers. It's pretty major.
Did the Narn one totally explode when it was trying to escape?
Yeah, they were trying to open a jump gate and it just couldn't. And then you saw like explosions coming from the inside. Which, I mean, what do you do? Like, they were probably like, all right, now it's time for. They're trying to do a drive by. They were like, it's time to go. Engine wouldn't get started, and then instead of opening the gate, it probably just overloaded the engines and exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, gosh, that sucks, because I wanted to debrief with those Narn. Like, did you know what this nuts was doing? Did you know that the Centauri was bluffing? Did you hear Sheridan tell y'all to stop and you was just like, nah, fuck it? Or like I would have liked to hear their side.
Because they came out of hyperspace. So were they responding to the original attack and that just gotten there?
Right. Yeah. Like what is this that is happening here? Because gosh, that sure is bad timing.
Yeah, but it also it comes across as like the Narn had been trying to do the diplomatic thing for over a year.
So long. Yeah.
And they're just like, screw it, we got the power, let's just do it ourselves. Let's take these fools out. They right there, let's do it. And then and then when they do, you know, they experience a massive loss. Now remember, the Narn aren't doing well in this fight, so that really wasn't that big of a deal to them. They were just like, we're losing anyway, let's take some of them out. Let's take some of them with us. You know? And
yeah, it really seemed like a little too late kind of situation.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have mattered. I don't think it would have mattered if the Narn, you know, had the same information in that moment as Sheridan. I think they would have just still, fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, and also Sheridan is the one that was threatening Jakar when he was explaining what the Centauri were doing to the Narn before, when they were attacking those different sectors. Like, they did this before, they're doing it again. We need to stop them. And Sheridan's like, I'm gonna have to shoot you if you don't calm down. And and Jakar is like, I'm not the problem.
Right.
Like any other Negro, you need to calm down.
All right, so Torkman, she's like concluding her 36-hour segment, which, okay, 36 hours, that did I say this already? I think that this, like, the standard day on Babylon 5 is 36 hours. I'm gonna have to double check that, but that sounds about right. I know they mentioned that on Men in Black, though. Like, the average day for them is 36 hours, and that's wherever their Men in Black station is. I don't know. Like, you would have to adjust to 36-hour days in space or something like that. But Torkman is talking about how Babylon 5 is a dangerous place, and like, maybe you should give it more time to fulfill its purpose. She's like, it's going to be a continued source of controversy and conflict, but only time will tell. And so she asks all these different people, like, is the investment in Babylon 5 worth it? We get to see a lot of different characters comment on that. And this actually made me feel really good, because it's like, I do want to know what these people think of their jobs, right? The dock worker, he's like, hell yeah, I'm from New York. I'm walking over here. I got a pension, you know.
I like pizza.
I like a pizza. You know, all the cliches, because apparently that's what his character is. Garibaldi is like, yeah, you know, it's worth it. Remember when he was talking about his job, how he wishes like nothing would happen? It's like, I wish I could wake up and nothing would happen. It's like, I get you, bro. You keep getting shot in the back, and somebody's always trying to swing to the back of your head, and you don't watch it. So, yeah.
Why did you think on a station like that you would want to live a day where nothing happens? Like, it's summertime, and when I'm on break during the summer, I have a child here. There's no day where I'm going to wake up and nothing happens. Something is going to happen. I mean, no, I'm not going to get shot, but
Londo, with the way he says it, he says, misunderstandings aside, yes, it's very worth it. He's talking about the diplomatic and I would guess tactical advantage of being aligned with the humans. They're in a position of power. So he's like, yes. Jakar is like, I don't know. I've been right this entire time. Y'all been wrong. And y'all ain't helping. I don't know. We ain't homies no more.
you say this place gonna blow up for all I can.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, he got 1 foot out the station as it is. That dude be disappearing somehow. He be leaving the station without anybody knowing and getting back on the station without anybody knowing. Delin is like, yes. Ivanova, they quickly switch to her and switch away. She's like, yes. Like, that's all she has to say. Yeah. And then when they talk to Sheridan, he's just talking about, he explains the overall appeal of, we're not here for, what did he say? We're here to build a better future. Granted, there's a lot of him kind of waxing poetic about that. It's more of like, yeah, I'm hopeful. Which that's how I always felt that Sheridan was very hopeful too, you know. Mm-hmm. So, and then the show ends, and we are not left with a happy ending. That conflict, all of that stuff happened. We saw the potential for diplomacy and coming to agreements, and that all went down the toilet, and the war escalates, and then the show ends, and I'm like, fantastic, this is genius. Like, there is no solution. Like, the people who watching the show don't get to feel good because this is a thing ongoing at Babylon 5, and the people on Earth don't know what's happening. And that's all of us. Whenever we're hearing about these different conflicts around the world, we don't know what's going on other than what the news is saying. Granted, yeah, we have social media you have people explaining some of the details, but like the overall view, like we don't know how close or how far people are from getting what they need or getting what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we can only get the perspective of the people who do present, whether it's they have an agenda or not. It's still just that it's such a tiny piece of everything.
Yeah. And what is his name? Who didn't even make it to the end of the episode, Senator Quintrell. I don't think we'll ever see him again. I feel like he's a puppet.
Yeah. Well, most of those delegates on the government people, they kind of pop in and out, like, or just pop in, and they're a lot of them are just cameos, right?
Yeah, or probably favors, I'm getting a favor. I was owed a favor, and the producer, director, somebody let me be in there. I don't ever see those people acting in anything else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything else about the rest of the episode?
Really liked it, and I would love to see more of this kind of thing, like the style.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking would have made the book Dune better, because it was so hard. Like, if you did, I know I'm off subject, but the author of Dune is was a reporter, and he wrote it based on like his experience with things that he's reported on and places that he's been, and trying to take that experience and turn it into a story in book form was like torture. But like all the creativity in the story was there. If he would have wrote it as like from the perspective of a reporter, it wouldn't have been so torturous. It's a great way of telling a story because it is a way of telling a story.
The cool thing about Babylon 5, they do have a couple more episodes like this. There is told from the news media. We do get to see the news being more overtly propaganda, like being the voice of the state in the future. So I'm very excited for those to come. And then there are some things at the very end of the series that it's not that it recaps things, it just kind of fills in some things, but I'm excited for those. So this was a good one. It was kind of like a good mid-season break / recap, just like remind you like this is who these people are, but this is what's going on. But nothing in the universe really goes forward other than we have a more negative perspective of the Narn and the Centauri war, and there's a reason for that. It's gonna become more front and center soon, because this is episode 15. We're almost done with his season. We're getting close. So yeah.
And I just thought about when you said that, like they're trying to show how the conflict in space isn't really our concern, but the Centauri brought the concern to us.
Yes.
Like they used us basically, and whether or not we were there or not, like yeah, you could argue because the station was there, they were able to use it, but they did. They don't care.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get out of here. I think we did pretty awesome. So thank you all for joining us for another episode of Voices in Hyperspace. You can catch Voices in Hyperspace on TikTok at Voices in Hyperspace. It's going to be a lot of fun there, and we can continue the conversation on our Facebook group, Voices in Hyperspace. I am Legendary Black Lion. You can find me on Instagram at Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Captain Bell Asylum. You can find me at Mel's Rebellion, and I have a Goodreads page too, so go check that out and find my books.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm when I get a chance, I'm going to join.
I am the Rebel Nita. I am on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Nita Painter. NitaPainter.com to find my website. You can find me at what's that place called? Belmont Park. I'll be there for their beachside fall fest again. I am single, dating. I don't like holding hands. I like to go on walks. I have 2 cats. Yeah.
All right.
This is Sunday. Find me at a poker table. Au revoir.
And we'll see you out there.